Hospitals have a particular kind of silence that isn't really silence at all. It's a compression of sound, machines beeping, distant weeping, rubber soles on linoleum, all of it pressed flat by some architectural decision to keep the ceilings too high and the lighting too cold. Sitting in that waiting room, I felt less like a person and more like a loose piece of furniture nobody had gotten around to removing. Present. Purposeless. Waiting. My name is Daniel Voss, and my wife had been underwater for 4 minutes. That was the number the paramedic had given me on the phone, and I'd been turning it over ever since. The way you work a broken tooth with your tongue, unable to stop, unable to make it better. 4 minutes. The dock rail had given way, they said. She'd been walking back from the neighbor's place and the rail had just given way, and she'd gone into the lake in the dark and nobody had seen it happen until it was almost too late. I had been 20 minutes away at the time. I told her I was at the office. My phone had 17 missed calls on it by the time I found parking. The doctor who found me in the waiting room was younger than I expected. She had the careful face of someone professionally trained not to give things away, which made the small wrinkle between her brows, when she saw my expression, matter more than anything she said first. Mr. Voss, your wife is stable. She's asking for you. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. Is everything normal? Her brain, 4 minutes is. Her neurological assessments have come back clear. The doctor paused in a way that, even then, I clocked as deliberate. There is one thing I'd like to go over with you before you go in. Are you all right to walk? I wasn't, but I said yes. We went down a hallway that felt 3 times longer than it was, and she stopped me outside a closed door. Your wife reported something when she first regained consciousness. The doctor chose her words the way a person picks their way across ice. She said she could hear voices. She described them as being layered, like listening to several radio stations at once. We ran an auditory assessment and her hearing tests at roughly 3 times the normal range for a human adult. I stared at her. That's not possible, I said. No, she agreed. Which is why I wanted to tell you before you went in. Nora looked small in the hospital bed, which wasn't a word I'd ever associated with her before. She was sharp-boned and fierce-eyed, and even now, even pale and bandaged, she held herself with a kind of coiled readiness that made the hospital gown seem like a costume she was wearing ironically. She smiled when she saw me. The real one, the slightly crooked one that had been the first thing I'd ever noticed about her at a graduate party 11 years ago. Hey, she said. Hey. I crossed the room and took her hand. It was cold. You scared me to death. I scared myself. She touched the bandage at her temple gently. It's so loud in here. I know. Hospitals always. No. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't immediately name. I mean it's loud. The nurse 3 rooms down is telling her colleague something she definitely shouldn't be telling her. The man in the waiting room on this floor is rehearsing a lie he's planning to tell his wife. I can hear the doctor outside our door, Daniel. She's wondering if she should have told you more than she did. I didn't say anything. The doctor outside our door said nothing. I had no way to verify any of it. But something cold and specific moved through me, slow as a tide. I brought her home 2 days later. She was quiet on the drive, her eyes half closed and her head tilted very slightly toward the window, the way a dog tilts its head to catch a frequency it can't quite resolve. I kept the radio off without meaning to. You don't have to be careful with me, she said, without me having done anything visibly careful. I'm not. She smiled without opening her eyes. You're driving 4 miles under the limit. You drive 5 over, always. I've timed you. I pressed the accelerator fractionally and didn't reply. At home, she stood in the kitchen doorway for a long moment, perfectly still, her head making those small incremental tilts, like she was tuning something only she could feel. The Hargreaves are fighting again, she said finally. The ones 2 doors down. The Hargreaves were 300 feet away, behind a fence, behind 2 sets of walls. That's a guess, I said. He's telling her it was only the once. She turned and looked at me with something unreadable in her face. She doesn't believe him. I wouldn't either. I changed the subject. I got very good at changing the subject over the next 2 weeks. She got better in every way that didn't unsettle me, and in every way that did, she got more. Her sleep normalized. Her appetite came back, then exceeded itself. She ate like someone making up for lost time. The headaches she'd complained of in the hospital faded. She went on her usual morning walks and came back bright-eyed and slightly dazed, like someone who'd spent the morning at a gallery that had moved her more than she'd expected. But she heard things. She heard the mail carrier's argument with her supervisor, conducted over the phone with the mail carrier's window rolled up. She heard the specific exchange our neighbor had with his doctor that the neighbor had told no one about. She heard, with a reliability that stopped feeling coincidental by the end of week 1, everything that was happening just outside the edge of what any normal person should be able to hear. And slowly, incrementally, the range expanded. By the 3rd week, she stopped tilting her head. Whatever she was receiving, she'd adjusted to the frequency. "You don't have to concentrate anymore," I said one evening, watching her read. She was turning the pages at about a third of her usual speed, distracted by something I couldn't hear. "No," she agreed. "It's more like, do you know how you stop noticing a smell after a while? It's like that, but in reverse. It keeps becoming more. Is that frightening?" She considered this with genuine honesty, which was one of the things I'd always loved about her. "No," she said. "It's almost like being given something back that I never knew I was missing." That was when I started being afraid of her. I came home on a Thursday evening in the 4th week to find her sitting at the kitchen table with both hands flat on the wood in front of her, and her eyes closed, completely still. No book. No tea. Nothing. "Nora, I heard you pull in," she said, without opening her eyes. "I heard you pull in from about a mile out. I recognized the engine." "That's not possible." "I know." She opened her eyes and looked at me, and in them was something new. Not coldness, not alienation, but a considered, deliberate quality, like a person choosing their words for reasons they haven't shared yet. "Daniel, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth." My hands went still at my sides. "Of course," I said. My voice was steady. I'd had 11 years of practice. "Where were you the night I fell?" The refrigerator hummed. Outside, something small moved through the dry leaves in the garden. "I told you. The office. I was finishing the Carver proposal." "The office was dark," she said. "Karen at the front desk locked up at 6. I heard her tell her husband so at dinner last Saturday. I heard her from here, Daniel. From our kitchen. She said she was the last one out." I said nothing. "I've been trying to decide," she continued, her voice almost gentle now, "whether what I'm hearing is reliable enough to trust. Whether I should say anything. Whether I'm still." She stopped. "Whether I might have gotten confused somewhere. Misheard." "You're still recovering," I said carefully. "The doctors said there might be some." The dock rail didn't give way. She said it quietly, with the same tone she might use to read a recipe aloud. "There was nothing wrong with the rail. I've been over it in my head 100 times. I was holding it and it came free. The whole bracket. Both bolts." I stood in the doorway of my own kitchen and felt the room change shape around me. "Nora. There's a woman," she said. "I don't know her name yet. But I've heard your phone from the other side of the house, and I've heard you step outside to answer calls you don't take in front of me, and last Tuesday at 2 in the morning I heard you typing something you deleted before morning." She looked at me with those clear, too perceptive eyes. "I'm not guessing, Daniel. I'm hearing. It's different. I should have said something. I should have said anything. Instead I stood there, and the silence grew between us like something with its own weight, and she watched me with a patience that was somehow more frightening than anger would have been. "I can hear your heartbeat right now," she said softly. "From here, I can hear it. And I want you to know that whatever is going to happen next, whatever you do, whatever you say, I will hear all of it. She stood, pushed in her chair with a careful, deliberate motion, and walked past me toward the stairs. At the bottom step she paused. I called the police yesterday, she said, without turning around. Just to have the conversation. They're sending someone to look at the dock on Friday. She went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after that, listening to the ordinary sounds of a house I'd thought I knew, and understanding for the first time what it felt like to be the one who couldn't hear what was coming. That was 6 days ago. I'm writing this from a motel 40 minutes from home, and I have 17 unanswered calls, some from a number I recognize, some from numbers I don't. I've been sending everything to voicemail. I've been afraid to listen. An hour ago, I finally played the oldest one. The one that had come in the night of the accident, in the hospital waiting room, while I sat trying to look like a man who didn't know why his wife was in the water. Daniel. Her voice. Calm and certain in a way that made my hands shake. I know you can hear this. I also know you won't answer. That's fine. I just wanted you to know that I'm still in the water, they haven't found me yet, and I can hear them looking. I can hear everything from here, Daniel. I couldn't before. But I can now. And I can hear you, too. I've always been able to hear you. I always will be. The call had been made at 10:47 p.m. The paramedics had pulled her out at 10:52. I don't know what she heard, or what she became, in those 4 minutes under the dark water. But I know she can hear me breathing right now, in this room, in this motel, 40 minutes away. And I don't know how much further that distance will keep growing. Or whether it's growing in the right direction.